Okay. Hello everyone. It is Teresa from Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. I have my pre-traced out canvas. It is the Eiffel Tower, and we're going to get started painting. I traced this with graphite paper, but then I went over my trees in black, and you will see why. Okay? Little trick I got for you guys. So let me turn you around, and we will get started. Okay. I'm going to put out some blue, and I have a little bit of black. I'm going to turn this to the side. I'm going to get my larger brush, all washed and dried off. Now the reason I turn this to the side is because I'm going to be doing horizontal strokes, and this way I don't start to windshield wiper my hand. A lot of times if we're trying to do this horizontal and we're moving our hand will go in a curve. But if I turn my piece sideways, then my brush strokes are more horizontal. I am going to, as carefully as possible, try and go around my Eiffel Tower. It doesn't matter because we'll be filling that in at the end. And so if I get some paint on it, it's okay. I'll be able to fix it. And I'm going to go right over my trees. That is why I put them in Sharpie after I traced it in. This way I don't have to worry about the trees. I don't have to worry about the branches, because I will just come in here later and go right over them, and you're going to see how this painting is going to progress. When you hop on, say hi, let me know where you're watching from. And I'm just using my brush. This is about a 1/2 inch wide flat brush, and I'm just painting in my background. I'm going right over my trees. You guys would have the tracer for this. I trace it on with graphite paper. This one I already had traced because I had it left over, so I didn't trace tonight with you guys, but there are 32 other videos in here, and I'm pretty sure that at least 30 of them have me tracing on at the beginning. So you can hop back over and catch how to trace if you're new to this group and haven't seen how to trace with graphite paper before. All right, and I'm just filling that in with my blue. And then I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to do this side. I'm just using my brush on the flat. I'm getting as close as I can to my drawing of my Eiffel Tower. I'm going over my trees because I will still be able to see them. I'm not sure if you can see them in the camera or on the screen, but I will be able to see them. This is just the base coat. Our painting goes in stages, kind of like making a pizza. You start with the dough, then the sauce, then the cheese, then the toppings. That's how a painting goes. The canvas is our dough, and then we work our way up to the top. And when we paint in all the details at the top, that can be considered all those special toppings. And you know, we all like something different, and art is the same way. We can all paint the same design, with the same brushes and the same colors, and it'll all be a little different because we add our own taste or flair to the project. I am going to go around now and paint my sides. While I have the blue on my brush, I'm going to paint the sides of my canvas. You don't have to paint the sides of your canvas. You can leave them white. You can paint them. You can paint them something totally different. It is up to you what you do with your canvas sides. A lot of times I paint in a a mixed media pad, a 9x12 mixed media pad, and then there are no sides to worry about. Okay. So I want the top of my painting to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to stick my corner of my brush in some black, and I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to just start adding in a little bit of black, work my way down and back up. So I'm going to pick up some blue, a corner in my black, mix it in, and then come back over to my painting. When you want to blend, you want the paint on your surface and the paint on your brush to be wet. And that's how you will get the best blend. And I just want to move the darkness down a little bit and back up. Ooh. Same thing on this side. Adding a little bit of dark paint, a little bit of black, darkening up my blue a little bit. So up here in the top of the sky is where it is the darkest. And if you don't know already, this is going to be the moon. I'm trying to avoid it. If you get some paint on it, it's okay. So there we have our canvas base coated. And you can be as fancy as this if you want. You can make it a little bit lighter down here if you want. But we're going to have so much going on here when we fill in our trees and paint in our Eiffel Tower that it's going to be okay. I just switched to a smaller brush. I'm going to pick up my blue paint, and I want to get background in here. These are the parts of the Eiffel Tower you see through, and I want to do some background here as well. So I'm just filling this in. Got a little carried away, but that is a-okay, because I'm going to show you that's why we work from the bottom up, because it is acrylic paint. You can fix anything, and we will fix that when we get to it with our paint for our Eiffel Tower. Okay, all right, I'm going to go back to my larger brush. I'm going to give it a wash. And then I'm going to do the bottom part down here. So I'm going to pick up white. I'm going to load my brush with white. I'm going to pick up a little bit of gray, a little bit of black on the corner, and I'm going to come down here, I'm going to make gray. You can use gray if you have gray. I could use gray, I have gray. But I just as soon use the black and the white that I already have out on my palette. One less color to worry about. And I'm just filling it in here. You don't want to overblend. You want to see variations in the white and the black and the multiple shades of gray. And again, I'm going to come over here while my brush is dirty and do my edges. There we go. Oops. Okay. All right, I'm going to switch back to my smaller brush. I would say this one's about a 1/2 inch wide. I usually go by my finger, so my dirty painty finger, so yeah, that's about a 1/2 inch wide. I'm going to mix a gray again, so I'm going to load my brush with white, stick a corner in the black, and just swish it around and get a gray. And I'm going to start painting in my Eiffel Tower. This is a pretty simple painting. It can get as detailed or as complicated as you want it to. When I want to go on the edge, I use my brush on the chisel edge, which is the top. When I want to fill in areas, I use it on the flat, so I can fill in more area with the same brush. When I'm trying to get on the line there, I use it on the chisel edge. Because the Eiffel Tower is metal, we don't want to overblend, and we want to see variations in our paint. So I'm just using my brush. I'm doing this section here that goes right across, making it as even as I can. So even when your sketch is not perfect, you can come in and fix it with your paintbrush. I'm gonna wipe that off because I got a little bit of blue on it. I'm gonna mix up some more gray here as I go. I'm gonna use my brush and I'm gonna make these parts here of the Eiffel Tower the exact width of my paintbrush. So I'm just pulling it up just like that. One stroke up, one stroke up, and see how nice it cleaned up this triangle shape in the middle? I didn't waste a lot of time on that. I didn't say, oh, I messed up, look what I did. Nope. As you paint along, it is a process. Your painting will have some ugly steps before it gets to look really good. And sometimes we just have to let it be and keep going. And there we go. I tell my painters that all the time. It's okay. You didn't mess up. It is acrylic paint and you can fix anything. But until they actually have to fix it, they don't believe me. So I'm saving you guys a lot of trouble by letting you know right up front that it's acrylic paint and you can fix anything. If you're interested, this kit is available on my website. I'll pop the link in the description later. And you can grab it. The kit comes with the pre-traced canvas and all the paint you need to make one project. Actually, you get a little bit of extra paint. I don't know about how much extra, but you do get a little bit of extra paint. But it comes with one pre-traced canvas. You have this video, and then paint and paintbrushes. I'm actually going to move to my liner brush to do this part up top here. I'm still picking up the white and mixing a gray, and I'm just going to put these parts in here now. And then the pointy top. Okay, and there we go. I'm going to let that part dry now a little bit. And I'm going to go back to my smaller brush. So far we've used about a 1-inch flat, a 1/2-inch flat, and our liner brush. I'm going to pick up this white. It's in a little bit of the gray, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paint in my moon. Okay. So I have that all base coated in. Now I'm going to load with white. I'm going to pick up a little bit of blue on the outside, and I'm going to use the blue and the white. I'm going to come around with the blue to the outside and give my moon like a little bit of a glow or a halo around it. Okay, I'm going to wipe off my brush. Now I just want the white. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to smooth that out. Nice full moon glowing in the sky. We're going to add a little bit of gray to it after as well. But for now, this is what we have. We gotta let it, sometimes we have to let it dry. Okay? And I'm gonna rinse my brush. Now we're gonna base coat in our trees, and you're gonna see why our trees are just silhouettes. Get out a little bit more black. And that's where I drew them in after I traced my canvas with graphite paper. I went over it with Sharpie. You can go over it with a Posca pen if you want, a Posca paint pen. I'm going to draw in all my branches up top. Coming all the way down to the trunk. And then down into the concrete walkway. And just fill in. I'm using my brush on the chisel edge because a lot of this was too narrow to use the whole brush on the flat. And this way I don't have to keep switching it around. And there we have in our first tree. Pick up some black. I'm going to do the same thing up here. Getting in these tall branches. A lot of this is going to be covered up. I work in stages. So I did my background. Then we did the Eiffel Tower. Now as the Eiffel Tower dries, we're putting in our trees. This way then as our trees dry, we can go back and work on our Eiffel Tower. There we go. Look cool already. We're getting there, we're getting there. Goes in stages, right? Okay, and I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to go back to my liner brush now. Give it a rinse. I'm going to make some more gray paint. I need a little bit more white. So I'm going to load my brush with white. I'm going to use my liner brush. I like to give it a twirl in the paint so all my fibers come together. And then I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to pick up a little bit of black. And I'm going to start doing some crisscross to make the design on the Eiffel Tower. So instead of blending and making a gray this time, I'm dipping in white and black and putting in my lines. White, black. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this crisscross part. White, black. I feel like I'm missing something maybe here. White, black, and I'm just going to outline this part here. And I'm literally just putting my brush in white and then in black. Instead of blending and making a gray, I'm kind of like blending on my canvas. And the crisscross is here as well. And then come back this way. Also, this way we have different variations. We have some lighter, some darker. It makes it way more interesting to have all those variations going. I'm going to come up here. I'm just going to add the detail to the top up here. And then I'm going to start doing the crisscross. You want your lines to be parallel and as the same distant apart as you can get. Doesn't have to be perfect, but the better you get them distance wise, the better your crisscross will look. You could use a ruler if you were so inclined. I don't really use a ruler. I'm lazy like that, but you could. Okay. Then we have some darker, some lighter. This one's kind of way dark, so I'm just going to add a little bit of white to that and lighten it up. And there we have our Eiffel Tower. Our sidewalk, our trees have dried, and I'm going to go back to my smaller brush, the 1/2 inch wide brush. I'm going to put out some saffron yellow, one of my favorite fall colors in the deco art, some spiced pumpkin, one of my other favorite fall colors in the deco art, and then a little bit of red. Not too much, and this is Tuscan red. It's more of a deep red than it is like a bright tomato red or fire engine red. We'll put a little bit of that out as well. And I'm going to start with my orange. I'm going to load my brush, applying a little bit of pressure to my brush. I want the paint to get up in there, but not into the metal. And I'm just going to dab. I'm using my brush and I'm squashing it down. I'm on the chisel edge and I'm squashing it to make it look like a leaf. Every time I go back to my palette, I apply a little bit of pressure so I fix my brush again, and then I come back and squash it. I'm just giving a little push on it and a pull. And making these leaves. And I'm going to have a little bit down here too. It's fall, right? They fell off the trees. I'll put a little bit down there. I can usually do about 2 or 3 leaves before I have to go back to my palette and fix my brush and pick up more paint. It really depends on your brush. You may be able to do more or less. Some people like to fix their brush every single time they do one leaf. That is totally up to you. You know how I say, teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. So, in keeping with the being quick, I will do multiple leaves before I have to go back and fix my brush and pick up paint. Occasionally our brush starts getting a little wonky because it gets way too filled up with paint, and then we just want to go and wipe it off on our rag. We don't have to go into the water. We just want to wipe it off, fix it, get it nice and straight again, and then load it up with paint. See how much smaller now my leaves are that I fixed my brush? Put a few more down here. I'm not even going to wash my brush, but I am going to come over here and I'm going to load it up now with the saffron yellow. And I'm going to start adding in the layer of saffron leaves. Now this is your project. You can do all your leaves one color. You can make these much more full than I have. You can use 2 colors. It's your art. And you can do whatever you like, whatever works for you. I still have quite a bit of orange in my brush. And so some of my leaves are becoming a mixture and some are just mostly yellow. And I'm just layering these in here, randomly adding some leaves to these trees. How cool is that? Doesn't that look great, you guys? Sometimes we have to step back and take a little bit of a distance. It's a good idea too if you really want to see what your painting looks like. I have the camera, but if you really want to see what your painting looks like, sometimes it's a good idea to take a picture of it and then look at it in the picture. Let me back you guys up. How's that? Is that a little better? Just realized I wasn't like totally on for the whole thing. Now I'm going to wipe off my brush. I'm not going to go and wash it. I'm just going to wipe it off. I'm going to pick up some of this red. And I'm just going to add a few. I live in the Northeast. We get beautiful fall foliage here. Lots of change in our leaves. I love when they turn red. Red is a very unusual color though. We won't have a lot of red. Sometimes trees will just have a section of red. But I like it, and so I'm adding it to my art. I'm going to leave the bulk of my leaves orange and yellow, but I do want to add some red in here as well. And again, some to the bottom. And there we go. I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to wash it a little bit. Give it a good rinse. And I'm going to come over here where I have this little bit of this light gray in here. Oh, got some on my brush. Okay. And I'm just going to add in a little bit of crater. I'm using the corner of my brush. I got a little bit of the dark gray and the light gray. And I'm just adding in some texture to my moon. You could leave this part out if you want. I'm just randomly adding in some texture. You still want to be able to see the white and the bluish in the background, but I'm just adding a little gray and a little texture so it looks like our moon is a little bit cratery. And there we go. Just going to pick up my white here for a second, my liner brush. I want this side where the moon is shining to have a little bit of highlight. So I'm grabbing my white and I'm just pulling it down this side of my design. If this was a little bit more of an advanced tutorial, I would have taken this side and mixed white with my blue and made this whole side a little bit brighter than the left. But since this is just a beginning tutorial, that's it. I just wanted to lighten it up on this side. The moon is shining. We could even come up here and put a little bit of highlight on some of our leaves on this side. Right on the sides that are facing the moon and towards the top. And there we go. Let me wash my brush. Let me turn you guys around. And here is our fall Eiffel Tower. Thank you for joining me, and have a great night, everyone.